Hi, Sakit. The strength is almost around 23, so we can start, I guess.
Okay, okay. So, good morning, everybody.
Good
Good
morning.
Good
morning.
morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Just confirm once it is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Great. So, in the last session, we started with the discussion on object oriented programming. Conceptually, we tried understanding the core concepts. And in today's session, we will be looking at the implementation based on that discussion itself, like how exactly the object oriented features are used in C sharp and how the programming is actually done. Okay. So classes, objects, constructors, methods, these are the known things if you have worked with any programming language based on object oriented concepts, right? Access modifiers is not a new thing as well. Properties is something which was introduced by .NET to start with. So slightly different, but yeah, if you have worked with the other languages, there we usually write the getter setter methods in order to provide us some sort of encapsulated behavior. So that is something which has been simplified with the help of properties within .NET ecosystem. JavaScript also has adopted the concept of properties now, and it works pretty much the same way how .NET actually does it. Okay, so these are the things we'll be looking at. And till now, we were not using Visual Studio as such for any of the demos because it was just the beginning of C Sharp. I wanted you to understand the overall structure of C Sharp language and so on. Uh, so today onwards, we'll be actually making use of Visual Studio. So let's get started. Go to start and look for Visual Studio 2019 or 2022, either will do. Just open it. The first screen on both the versions would be something similar to this. Slight differences may be there because of the two different versions, but those will be minor differences only, can be ignored. Yes, everyone on the screen.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So what all components you see here? On the left hand side is the list of the recent projects which you might have worked with. It may be empty also if you have never worked with Visual Studio for any of the project. So if you have not worked with any project, definitely there will be nothing to show for recent. Am I right?
Yes.
Complete scrollable list you find over here once you start using Visual Studio for different projects. And then there is a search box also available here with the help of which you can filter the projects over here being displayed in this list. So later on, this will be important for you because quite a few times you might be working with 10, 15 projects at a time as well, right? Then on the right hand side, we have a section called as Get Started, within which there are four options. I believe Visual Studio 2019 also presents the same. Yes,
Right.
four options starting with clone repository. Second is open project or solution. Third is open local folder. And fourth is create new project. And just below that, we have a link continue without code. Correct?
Yeah.
Let's understand these options first. Clone repository. So here we need to understand what is repository. Have you ever worked with Git?
Yes.
What is
Yes.
Git?
It is a version control.
Can I say it's some utility that provides me a folder being stored on some central server, which can be subscribed by multiple users within a team and allows multiple users within the team to work on the same project at the same time. So it enhances the collaboration. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
No
Yes, sir.
need of copying the project each of the time. Probably first time someone creates the project on local machine and then puts it into Git repository. And then for the first time, each user needs to get that Git repository cloned so that everyone gets the same project structure. And once that is done, after that, no copy paste or no cloning is required anymore. You just need to utilize a feature of your code editor called as check in the code or check out the code. Correct?
Yes.
Completed versions you check in, and the version where you need to make some changes or you need to add some new code, basically that's where you use the feature called as check out. So you check out, you make changes, you modify the code, you add the new code, and then you check in back. So when you check in, actually it takes your local copy to your Git repository on the server. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, probably the first option should be clear. If there is already one Git repository created for some Visual Studio based project and which you want to work upon from this machine on which the project is not yet created or not yet cloned, first time you will be using the feature clone a repository. Usually you have command line interface also for the same. Git clone is the command for the same, right? Visual Studio is just providing an automation on that. When you say clone repository, it will ask you the information about which repository you want to clone. So git clone also takes the same input, right? The repository address you have to give to git clone. Here Visual Studio will take that address from you and will automatically clone the repository on your local machine on the designated path that you provide. Understood?
Yes.
Yes.
For now, this is not important because whatever demos we are working with, all are local demos. So we need not work with the repositories as yet. Next is open a project or solution. Any idea when this will be required? If we already have a project locally available on the machine, whether it is a cloned repository based project or it's a project that we created in the past and we want to continue with the development of the same, probably that's where we go for open a project or solution. So basically for existing projects, we use this. The shortcut way is using the recent list. I can open any of these projects just by clicking on it once. Make sense? Or else I can say open a project or solution. It allows me to browse which project I want to open. So project or solution file I can select, just like there are some demos already created here. This is the solution file. I can select and I can say open. It will automatically open that solution or the project for me. Got my point?
Yes.
Now there are some kind of applications which are not actually the Visual Studio projects. Maybe if I talk about the static website is just a folder containing some HTML, CSS, JavaScript files, maybe some JSON, XML files as well. Yes, I may not have a proper project created for it because the compilation is not needed. I may not be using that. It's just a folder within which there are some files which I want to work with, which I want to modify, which I want to probably have some new code or maybe some new files I want to add. In that case, I go for the third option, that is open a local folder. Is that clear?
Yes.
And
Yes.
fourth option is create a new project, which means very first time when you are looking to create a new fresh project, you would be using this feature. Understand?
Yes.
And then continue without code, what it is. It opens or rather starts the Visual Studio without opening any existing project or creating any new project. Just opens Visual Studio shell with menus and everything available, with the help of which later on you can proceed to open a project or create a new project or whatever. Got my point?
Yes. Yes.
So which is the option to go for now?
Continue without.
Create a new project.
Create a
Create a
new
Create
new
new
project
project.
is
project.
the right option, because without project we'll not be able to get the compilation done, right? Even if we go for continue without code, later on we need to say new project. So if we directly have the shortcut available here, why not use this? Doesn't it make sense to use it from here itself?
Yes.
It does. Let's select create a new project. Again, the view may not be exactly same because of two different versions. Your list on the left hand side may be empty at this moment, which shows you recent project templates that have been used. So it depends on which kind of projects I have created in recent past. It shows the shortcuts for the same, so that I don't need to search over here at all. Correct? But in your case, if it is the first time you are using Visual Studio, most likely this list would be empty. Got it?
Yes.
On the right hand side, you have the search option. If you are sure about what type of project you want to create and you know a bit about the name of the project template according to which project you want to create, you can just start typing. Like if I'm looking for a console application, I can start typing console and then automatically the options are filtered. You get it?
Yes.
Yes.
Then here you have three drop down boxes for applying filters only. The first drop down box is for which language you want to target to code. So the installation that I have on my machine allows me to create project based on C Sharp, C++, F Sharp, JavaScript, Python, query language that is SQL, TypeScript, Visual Basic, and XAML language as well. This may be same, this may not be same in your case because it all depends on the way how Visual Studio has been set up on your machine, whether all languages are installed or not. Is it clear?
Yes.
As we are targeting the C Sharp language, what you should worry about is, do you have the C Sharp option here or not? If yes, that's good. We are good to go. Select C Sharp and go to the next box. So I hope everyone getting C Sharp there. Yes.
Yes.
Next is where you need to apply the filter on the basis of what would be your target environment or operating system for which the application would be built. Whether your application is going to be a native Android application, Azure cloud application, iOS application, Linux application, Mac OS application, or it's an app for Microsoft Teams, or it's a tvOS app, or it's a Windows application or Xbox application. When I say I'm selecting all platforms, what does it mean? My application would target the cross-platform implementation. So the kind of application which I write probably targets itself to be able to run on any of these platforms. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Your compilers will be set up according to what you select here. For now, I select Windows. I'm targeting Windows operating system. The third box is the actual type of project which I want to create. The long list here you will find. I have Blazor apps, which is web-based, cloud apps, console apps, desktop apps, where basically you target the GUI on Windows or Linux or Mac OS or tvOS, Android, iOS, etc., even Xbox. Extensions for Visual Studio if you are looking to build. Then games, where by default, Unity framework is configured for your project. Unity framework is the C# based framework developed for creating the gaming applications. This option will be available if and only if while installing Visual Studio, the game development workload has been included. Otherwise, this option would be invisible. Similarly, cloud would be available if the cloud workload has been selected. I mean, Azure development workload has been selected. Desktop would be available if and only if the desktop development workload has been selected. So this list actually depends on what all options have been selected as workloads in Visual Studio installation. So different types of applications you can see here. Practically, what I'm looking for here is a simple console application as of now, which is going to be exactly same as what we created with the help of Notepad. Got my point?
Yes.
Some options listed over here. Now you can see the number of options listed here are very less. Just 2 or 3 or 4 options would be visible. Minimum 2 would be there. There is no limit for maximum. Again, it depends on how the installation has been done on your machine. Clear?
Yes.
Let's select console app. This or this both can be selected. I mean, any one of these can be selected. The difference is when you say console app.NET framework, it will be mainly targeting Windows only behavior. I mean, this application would be runnable or usable only on Windows operating system. Whereas console app, this one which has got tags like C#, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, console, this is the application which will run on any of these platforms, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, anything. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
What is the most modern implementation out of these two? Obviously this one, right? With multi-platform support or cross-platform support. Yes or no?
Yes.
Same code you write, same code base you compile, and same code base basically runs on any of these systems. Make sense or not? It does. Let's select this console app. Make sure the correct template you have selected. The template with the tags that includes Linux, Mac OS, and Windows is what you have to select. Just Windows is there, that's not the one. Okay. Ordering may be same or different depending on the version of Visual Studio. I believe in 2019 version, console app.NET framework comes on the top and by the name console application. And console app name is used for the .NET Core version, which comes as second option. Just confirm.
I can see only the second option in my screen, the console lab.net framework.
Console app.NET framework. Okay. No worries. I would request you to share your screen. I'll guide you to get the second option also. Guys, anybody else having the same view over here where you are getting only .NET framework option and not the first one with Linux, Mac OS and Windows? I would request all of you to follow the process to get everything set up, because going forward we will be using .NET Core only. Okay. So Vivekanand, just close your Visual Studio. Go to Start menu. Type Visual Studio. Just start typing. Select Visual Studio installer. Click on Modify button on the right hand side. Now the options which I'll tell you have to be selected. Guys, please be careful. If you're not doing it immediately, you want to do it once this is done. Probably you can just note down somewhere what all options needs to be selected. So we can just go to that screen once again. Select ASP.NET and Web Development checkbox, first one. Azure Development, second one. We won't be doing Python development, so that's okay if we leave it empty. Node.js development later on, when you start working with React.js, you will need it. So select Node.js development checkbox also. .NET desktop development should be selected. This is what the workload I was talking about, okay? Scroll down a bit. See the game development also, the option as workload is there. We won't be doing that, so don't select it. Just for your information, I was talking about that. Select data storage and processing. Will require a backend system also, right? Database system. Then select .NET cross-platform development. Scroll down, or this is the last one. Wait. Don't click anywhere. This is last option, right? Now click on individual components tab on the top. Okay, it has taken .NET 6 already. That's great. Scroll down a bit. See if .NET Framework 4.8 is also selected. Scroll down further. Select .NET Framework 4.8 targeting pack. And now click on modify. So this will take 5 to 10 minutes to get installed. Click yes. I hope everybody has verified their installers. And after making the correct selection for the workloads, modify option has been selected. Yes or no?
Yes.
So once you click on modify and you confirm the same, the installation should start just like this. Now, how long actually it takes, it all depends on the internet bandwidth.
Hello, Saket.
Yes.
So it's done, I guess.
Yeah. So once it is done, you can close the installer and start Visual Studio as usual. Create new project, and now see, you should have the two options.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Everybody, please confirm. If facing any issue, please let me know that as well. Okay, so I hope it's done for everybody.
Yeah.
And I hope my screen is visible again. So we are on the same page, right? Which one I asked you to select is console app option with the tags Linux, Mac OS, Windows mentioned in it, not just Windows. Yes? Select this, click next, give a name to this project. Let's say we call it as CS for C# underscore demo. Demo is for object oriented programming. So I'll name this as OOP in caps as I'm using acronym. And then the location. So if you remember, we created a folder on desktop the other day by the name Quinnox, within which we had demos, within which C#. Same location I select here and click on select folder. Yes, then click next. .NET Framework version. If you are using Visual Studio 2019, there should be .NET 6 option available there. Select that. Yes. Make sure if this option do not use top level statements is appearing, this option is selected. Most likely in Visual Studio 2019, this may not be there, but if there, just make sure you have selected. This is a new feature that is introduced in C# 11.
Saket, to me, it's showing .NET 3.1.
There should be .NET 6 also, 3.1 if it is showing, that means the template you have selected over here probably is this.
No, Saket, I select the console app only.
Console app with Linux, Mac OS, Windows options.
Right,
Is it?
right.
Can you share your screen? Let me check.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yeah. Just click on the drop down.
Yes, I select this.
Yeah, this is
Going to
okay.
the
Next. Click on the drop down.
Nothing like that.
Okay. So again, we need to go to the Visual Studio installer once more. Just close this window. Start Visual Studio installer. Modify. Scroll down to the last. Okay, switch to individual components. Wait, scroll up, scroll up. .NET Core 3.1 is there. .NET 6 should also be there. Scroll down slowly. Why it's not showing .NET 6? Scroll down.
It is Visual Studio 2019.
Yeah, but then .NET 5 at least should be there. Search for .NET 5. Just .NET 5. Yeah. Select .NET 5 runtime.
It's out of support. So
That's okay. That's okay because practically Microsoft has withdrawn the support for .NET 5. 6 and later versions are supported. .NET 3.1 is still supported, but 5 is out of support now. It was more of a beta release. Okay, so that's fine for now. And .NET 6 is quite similar to .NET 5 only. So once you get .NET 6, the same code which you are going to write for .NET 5 would work on .NET 6 as well. Only minor changes are there. Some performance improvements and bug fixing has been done by Microsoft in that. That is the final release of .NET 5. Okay, click on modify. This should not take much time, hardly 2 to 3 minutes. Continue. That's a warning, usually because of the security policies. Almost done. Yeah, close this. Restart Visual Studio. Create new project. Console application. Next. Give the name. Set the path.
yes, yes,
Yeah, so
almost fine.
.NET 5 must be coming now. Okay, so just stay on this page itself. I'll share my screen.
Okay.
So I believe after this change, .NET 5 at least everyone must be getting in this list. Yeah.
Yes.
Select .NET 5. Though out of support, that's fine. For learning purposes, there is nothing wrong with it. Click on create and your project will be automatically built on the top of .NET 5 with some basic structure automatically available. Yes, the hello world program by default being displayed. Yes or no? Isn't this the same thing what we did in Notepad explicitly?
Yes.
Right? Output will be the same as well. Go to Solution Explorer window. If it is not visible on right hand side, once check on left hand side here. And if it's not visible on either side, you can actually take it from View menu and select Solution Explorer so that it will be visible. The pin button over here should be in horizontal position so that it becomes auto hide. I mean, when I move from it, it automatically hides, giving me more space to work with my code. And whenever I hover on Solution Explorer here, automatically it pops up. If by hovering it's not popping up, just click on that option and it will pop up. Yes. Let's understand the structure over here for the project. On the top is solution file with .sln as extension. .sln called as solution file. What it is actually a text file containing the information about how many project files are being used within this solution. Now, what is project file here? Project file actually represents individual modules of your application, which might include some DLLs, some executable projects, right? So it's a collection of projects. That is what we call a solution. Is it clear?
Yes.
Next is with C# icon. This is your project file. Icon may or may not be the same all the time. It depends on what type of project you have created. If it is a web project you have created, probably there will be a sign of globe, which represents internet. Okay. So this is something what we call as project. And if it is a C# based project, the extension of the file will be .csproj. CS for C#, proj for project. This is essentially an XML file containing information about what all code files and other assets your project is working with or making use of. Out of those files and assets, which are the files that needs to be compiled and which are the files that need to be ignored, which are the files that need to be ignored but copied into the project output directory. All this configuration is held by this XML file, project file. Understood?
Yes.
Next is a section called as dependencies. This is where any component on which your project depends on will be configured later on. Right now, I can see there is a dependency on framework where it is already using a package Microsoft .NET Core .app. This is actually something which represents your .NET Core environment or .NET 5 environment. But then there could be other project dependencies also, class libraries and all. So all will come in dependencies. And ultimately, the information of this is maintained into the project file itself. Got it?
Yes.
Next is your code file. As of now, we have one single file program.cs. Yes, which is already open here. Now you see what code it has using system. I believe everyone is aware of what is this.
Yes.
A namespace named as system being imported so that its members can be used within the current scope. It's defined at the file scope, so the contents of this, members of this can be used anywhere in this file. Right? We discussed that in the last session. Yes or no?
Yes.
I have a class program. We wrote this class exactly the same way. Static void main with string arguments and then console.writeLine. This whole code we have already used and discussed. Am I right?
Yes.
Just one additional thing, that the access modifier internal being placed over here. Anyhow, even if you don't put this, by default, language considers your class as internal only. Because at the top level, the class can be either public or internal. Nothing else is possible. Class cannot be private on top level. Class cannot be protected on top level. Class cannot be protected internal on top level. It can be public or it can be internal. And if nothing mentioned, the default is internal only. Is it clear?
Yes.
It's okay if
Yes.
you have a question like what this internal actually mean, but that's okay. You can hold it on for some time. When we discuss about the access modifiers, we'll talk about it. Got it?
Yep.
What is this? We didn't use this. This is custom namespace in which the program class is being put as its member. So basically we discussed about namespaces. Namespaces are logical collection of the related types. So whatever types that we declare, we define, if we put them into certain namespace, actually we are grouping them into one logical unit. And that's what the namespace is. So if I want to use program class somewhere else in the program or in the application, I can just say using cs underscore demo oop, and I can start using the members, including the program class over there. Do you get it?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, here get this console.writeLine statement removed. Done. Next, move to Solution Explorer window. Right click on the project file, the one with the C# icon, and select Add in the context menu. In the pop-up menu, then select New Folder. So practically, I added a folder within the project cs underscore demo whoop. The folder name I'm going to give as demographics. Done.
Yes.
Why folders are required? To organize our physical files, right? Now, one additional thing these folders do in .NET programming, precisely C# is whenever you add a code file inside any folder within the project, automatically a namespace with the name of the folder is also created. So apart from physical organization of the files, the logical grouping automatically is taken care of. I don't need to create a namespace separately. So it makes it easy. My job becomes simple. Yes or no? Right
Yes.
click on demographics folder, select add and select class. Add new item dialog box opens up. Class is automatically selected because we selected add new class. Let's name this class as person and click on add. So there is a code file called as person.cs which has been created and added to the folder demographics.
Hi.
Here, if you see the person class belongs to a namespace, demographics that is nested inside cs demo oop. Because ultimately demographics is the member of demo OOP only. Yes or no?
Yes.
Make this class a public class. And let's add some members to it. Public int ID semicolon. Public string name semicolon. Public
So this
date time date of birth semicolon.
Alvina,
If you want, you can add the other details like current address, permanent address, email ID, contact number, etc. Done? What kind of members these are? These are all data members. I repeat, these are all data members of the class person. Which represents characteristics, or you can say they will contribute to the state of the object called as person, where ID will represent a unique identity. And apart from that, name and date of birth will be the state. Yes.
Yeah.
So once done, just save the file. You can click on save all. If any unchanged changes are there, unsafe changes are there in any of the file, all will be saved. Switch to program.cs file. Now, because person belongs to a different namespace, I need to put the using statement here. Using cs underscore demo oop dot demographics. Is it clear?
Yes.
Now I can create the instance of the person class. Person p1 equals new person. What does it mean? This statement is working. What does it mean? There is a default constructor logic already available within the system. Correct? Which will
Yes.
get all the
Okay.
memory allocation done. So not only allocation, the deallocation will be taken care of by the GC. Means complete automatic memory management I have in place. Is it clear?
Yes. Yep.
Let's say p1 dot id equals 101. p1 dot name equals James. p1 dot date of birth equals new date time, or I can just say date time dot parse, just like int dot parse. And I can format. So let's say it's going to be some random date I've put there. And I want this to be displayed back on the screen. So console.writeLine ID 0 in curly brace, comma name, colon 1 in curly brace, comma date of birth, two in curly brace, comma, here I say p1.id, comma, p1.name, comma, p1.date of birth. What is this curly brace 0, 1 and 2?
Placeholders.
Placeholders. So just like in C, C++, we have %d, %s being used as placeholders, right? Now, what is the significance of these numbers 0, 1, 2? Curly brace is placeholder. 0, 1 and 2 means point is after this string, whatever the number of parameters you're passing, by default system makes an array of it. Now the first element goes to 0th index, second element goes to index 1, third element goes to index 2. That's what we are mentioning here. 0 means I'm looking for first element. 1 means I'm looking for second element. 2 means I'm looking for third element. Got it? Yes.
Yes.
Click on Save All and click on the Start button. The solid green triangle is there, right? With your project name. Click that. You can call it Start button, Play button, Run button, whatever it is. There is a console window which opens up that shows you the output. Yes.
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 Let's close this window. And you are exited from the project. Now I'll rewrite this statement once more. I comment this one and say console.writeLine. I start with a dollar as a prefix to the double quoted string. With an add, I have ID colon curly brace p1.id, comma name colon curly brace p1.name, comma date of birth colon curly brace p1 dot date of birth. First see the output. It is the same as previous one, right?
Yes.
Sorry. But syntactically, the code is slightly different here. Yes or no? Ideally, I'm making use of the interpolated string here, which makes my implementation little more easy to understand or more readable. You see this? Here, there is always a trick what this 0, 1, and 2 is. If you know it very well, then it's fine. But still, it creates a problem when number of parameters are on higher side. What if I have 50 such parameters? What if I have 100 such parameters? How long I will keep track of which parameter is at which index? So I may end up getting wrong results also. Yes or no?
Yes.
Whereas if you look at this, this is very straightforward. I am passing the variable there where it is actually required. No indexes being used. This is more direct, more user friendly, more readable. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
What this feature is called as interpolated strings. With the help of dollars sign, basically we do this. If dollar is not prefixed here, and if I put this way, see the output how it will be. Displaying p1.id, p1.name, p1.date of birth in curly braces as it is.
It will all taken as a string only.
Correct. It will not process the object and its property or data member. That's why we put the string interpolation operator here. So you can see with the color coding also, the difference is there, right? Without dollar, look at it, and with dollar, look at it. Color coding is different. Yes or no?
Yes.
Save this, go back to person class. I would like to have a constructor in place. So just type CTOR and press tab twice, tab key twice. Automatically the constructor will be created. The default one just says ID equals to zero, name equals to string dot empty, date of birth equals to, I can say date time dot now, current date. I want one overloaded constructor as well in case if someone wants to pass the initial values as parameters while creating the object. So I again type CTOR and press tab twice. One more constructor is introduced where I put the parameters in place. Int ID, string name, date time, date of birth. And then instead of initializing them to default values, I map the parameter values to them and save all.
Sakit, what's the shortcut you use to type this second function constructor?
CTOR and double tab. Rest of the code body you have to type in VS 2019. VS 2022 has got an AI enabled feature which automatically knows that what I would be typing into this. So it actually gave me an option to press tab and get the entire code generated. So that's a AI enabled feature. Got
Uh,
it, Archita?
after doing that, but I got the default constructor with no parameters.
That's okay. You have to modify that to make it look like this. As you are using Visual Studio 2019, the AI enabled features are not there into it.
Okay.
You have to manually type this.
Okay.
Going forward, all the development tools will become AI enabled, making your life easier so that you can focus on the actual business logic parts, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it done?
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing, how do I use these constructors? So first one actually I'm using already over here, right? Without parameters, when I'm using it, I'm already using it. I just copy this code in program.cs static void main, paste it back here and make some changes. P2 equals to new person. So when I say new person and put parentheses, do you see this? One of two.
Yes.
There are arrows also to browse. What is this? One of two. It says how many overloads are there and which overload is this. By default, it's showing without parameters. So this is first overload. This is the second overload, which takes in 3 parameters. First int, second string, third date time. I can pass it this way. Let's say the ID is 102. Name is John. Date of birth is, again, I'll say date time dot parse and a string I'll pass here. So let's say this, which means I don't require this part anymore, as my members are automatically going to be initialized. I directly go for console.writeLine statement. Just small changes I need to make. Instead of p1.id, I'll say p2.id, then p2.name, and then p2.date of birth. Yes. Once done, run your application. And here you do see this. So output is not affected because of the way how you initialize the members. Yes or no? Here I'm initializing them explicitly. Here I'm initializing them inline during instantiation with the help of the overloaded parameterized constructor. Yes or no?
Yes.
And if you look back at both the constructors, what they're doing, are we allocating any memory? Are we constructing the object here? No. We are just utilizing both of them as initializers. And because of its close proximity to C++ constructors in terms of syntaxes, we also call them as constructors. There is no other reason. Typically, this is just initializer. If you have worked with Java, within Java also you don't allocate memory. It's all automatic. So there also, though we use the term constructor, it's not constructor, it is just initializer. Yes or no?
Yes.
I can put the same comment here as well. Okay. So time for a small break here. We'll resume the session at 11:10. Okay.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm back. Shall we proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So any doubt till now? We created the class person with data members, then couple of constructors. Also explaining the overloaded thing, what overloading actually means. You have two entities for the same purpose with the same name. Uh, with different parameters. So that is where the overloading concept comes in, right? And we called it as constructor because here practically it looks like a method which doesn't have any specific name as such. It is the name of the class itself that we are using here, and it doesn't have a return type either. So this type of method basically is called as constructor. It is never called explicitly. It is automatically called when you instantiate your object. So this is one instance. This is second instance. Correct? Any doubt here?
How many constructors we can create here?
No limit. 0 to n number.
Okay.
Okay. Any other queries? Now one issue. What will happen if I say this is a minus value? Is this correct? What if I say there is no name passed, it's empty string, or I just pass null? Is this correct? If I'm talking about person, there has to be a name. If there is a person, the ID has to be a positive value, non-zero value. So in short, greater than zero value. Yes or no?
Yes.
Whether it is a business requirement or not, this is natural. IDs are never in negative, IDs are never zero. Correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And name is mandatory. Correct? All the
Yes.
time. How do I make sure this doesn't work? This doesn't work. One way is here I need to take input of whatever value what it is, and then I put the validation logic here itself. But then what's the use of it? I am entering the value and I am writing the logic for validating my own input. That's not the thing. Whoever writes the person class which handles the data, within person class itself, the logic for validation should be present. Yes or no? So that whoever uses it by default is enforced to follow the validation. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, how is it going to be possible? Because my data members themselves are public. If that's the case, by default, I have the access to ID, name, date of birth, everything. Correct? I have thrown open my data members directly in the hands of users. That's where we need something called as encapsulation. So what I'm supposed to do in such cases is I create a private data member, let's say ID, and a public accessor for it with the help of something called as properties. So here I say public int ID. Till here it just looks like what we have commented on line 11. But then here I have a body which looks like a method. Just one difference, there is no parenthesis like method over here. Rather, The body itself is present, and within that I have two blocks called as get and set, which play the role of getter and setter. In get also I can have if statement or some logic to check the accessibility. Auth I will mention, which includes authentication, authorization both. If user is permitted to use this value, I mean read this value, I'll say return ID. Right? Else I'll say throw exception, throw new unauthorized access exception, means you are not allowed. Similarly, in set block, the logic to check auth can be there to start with. If authentication is there in place, probably then I can go for the validation. In our case, the validation is going to be if value is greater than 0, then ID equals value. The data member which is private is being assigned to value. Where what value is? Value is the implicit parameter passed automatically by the system to your set block. The data type of this value would be same as what is the data type you have given to the property, right? Else I can say throw new invalid operation exception. ID has to be, or probably I can say ID must be an integer greater than 0. Do you get it? Yes.
Yep.
Now I need the same thing for name also. So here I go and say one way is I just do it like this. I type private string name and then public string name, get set, everything. There is a shortcut provided by Visual Studio for this as well. Just type PROPFULL, prop full, and press tab key twice. Automatically, it gives you the syntax for creating a property. By default, data type for the data member is selected. I'll make it string. Just start typing string. Then press tab to select the name. Name I'll change to name with small m. Press tab again. It by default jumps to the property name where I'll say it is name with capital N. And there comes the get set blocks. I'll just arrange it on multiple lines like this. Optionally, you can have logic to check auth, return name. Then in set block also, it starts with logic to check auth. That's not a compulsion, but the thing is, most likely your application will need it. The business applications will require the accessibility check, right? Then there I have the if statement. So probably I can just get this name equals to value cut from here. If value, or probably I can just say if not string dot empty is null or empty. We have used this in the last session, right? Value. It should not be null. It should not be empty as well. Then name equals to value. Else throw new invalid operation exception with the message as name is mandatory. And if required, I can do it for age also. I mean date of birth. So let's say PROPFULL double tab. Date time is the data type. Date of birth with D small. And then property name is date of birth with D capital. For now, I don't have a validation over here, so I just leave it as it is with the default implementation. Is it clear? So these are getter setters only. Just that the implementation is simplified. Instead of writing two separate methods, it is one entity I'm writing. Yes or no?
Yes.
Here, nothing needs to be changed. In constructor, I'll be assigning the values via properties only, not the private data members. Though the private data members are accessible here, I should not use them at all if there is a property with the validation in place. Do you get it?
Yep.
Save all, go back to program.cs. All errors are gone. This is just working, and see how I'm using this. I'm using property, not the data member. Data member won't be visible. It has become private now, right? Only property is visible because property is the public accessor.
Okay.
Correct. And while reading, I'm just saying the same thing. So practically they behave like method, but used like a data member, which makes it further easy for the end user. Yes or no? If it is going to be a method like getter setters that we have in C++ or Java, I need to have the methods explicitly called p1.setID, p1.setName, p1.date of birth, pass the parameter value. Here also, while reading back, I have to say p1.getID, p1.getName, p1.get date of birth, get date of birth, and then the parameters, if any. Yes or no?
Yes.
This looks simple, as if I'm working with simple data members only, isn't it?
Yep.
And no need to change anything in the code after doing this refactoring. Correct?
Correct.
I just commented this and added the properties, and still I don't need to change anything as far as the property names are same as the older names of the data members.
Okay.
Let's start. And what I expect is an exception immediately. The moment the ID is being set to a negative value. See, it says ID must be an integer greater than 0. Let's see what is the value it is taking in. For the first constructor, it is taking 0. And that's where itself it is failing. Yes.
Yep.
Which means the first constructor is not usable here. Probably I pass the value here itself. Maybe I just comment out this portion. I say person, P1 equals to new person with ID as -101, comma, name as James, comma, date time dot parse 18 September 1965 as date of birth. Right? Still exception. See the value. It's -101. Failed the condition. It went into exception. If I say continue, it shows the same thing on the console also. Yes or no?
Yes.
As I'm running in debugger, it actually got broken over here where the exception was thrown. I correct this issue and start again. Initially it worked. The first output also I got successfully because all the data is correct, but still there is an exception now. This time it is reporting on name. Let's see what is the value of name. It's null, which is the case of the second object being created. Right here I'm passing null. Hence I'm getting the error. Correct? I say continue. And it just shows the same error here. Name is mandatory. Let's close. Let's correct this. Let me pass some name. This time it should work smoothly. So I have a better control also, right?
Right.
So this is where we can see the clear implementation of encapsulation. Yes.
Yes.
Any real life example you can tell me for encapsulation? You go to a public internet cafe. There are computers placed over there, and any computer can be used by anyone. Am I right?
Yes.
You know how people use those computers pretty roughly. Yes or no?
Yes. Yep.
Reason? There is no control. Even
They
if there
don't
is
care.
control, it is just very less because 1 or 2% cannot see what is going on each of the terminals. And plus, there could be privacy issues also. I might be doing some bank transactions or something. And if someone is watching behind, looking at me, can steal my passwords as well. Correct?
Yes.
So usually they don't stand. And that is the reason why those machines are used pretty roughly. So that is like giving the entire data in the hands of the user. You do whatever you want. Unrestricted. Is it good?
No.
If it is your own laptop, will you give it to someone like that? Or for the
No.
usage like that?
Nope.
Even if you don't monitor the usage, what you would do is while giving, you will you already know the status. While taking it back, you will check the status once again. If you find some rough usage, something broken, something not working, you will ask that person to get it repaired, right?
Yep.
So there is some control. In fact, the other person also knows that I need to use it carefully because this belongs to someone else. I have to return it in the same state. Yes or no?
Yep.
So that is something what we call as encapsulated behavior. Am I right?
Yes.
Another example could be, suppose if I'm talking about a desktop system, do I actually need that cabinet which holds my motherboard and CPU and other devices into it or screwed to it? Not actually. If I have a safe environment, big table, I can just keep everything open, right? I'll have a simple power supply box directly connected to motherboard on which there is a processor, there is a cooling fan. Then directly on motherboard, I have the RAM and everything else connected and the monitor being connected to that itself. So I don't have a need of cabinet, the box, right?
Yes.
But is it safe?
No.
Two things. One, physically it's not safe. Anyone can pull the RAM module, can run away, or can pull the processor module and run away. Correct?
Yes.
It can be the case with anything. I mean, the motherboard itself can be taken back. Uh, Power supply can be taken back. It's not safe that way physically.
Mhm.
Even if it is physically secured, I'm sitting in a secure environment. There are electrical components, electricity operated components, right?
Yes.
And they are open. By mistake, if someone touches the open circuits, they can get a shock. Yes or no?
Yes.
That way also it's not safe, it's not secure. Correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Physically it may be secure, but practically it's still not. Yeah, if some repair works are going on and there is a qualified technician working on it, then it's okay because he knows how to take care. Probably he might be wearing gloves and the protection gear all the time. Correct?
Yep.
But as a developer, probably it will be difficult for us. Correct?
Yes.
That's why we have the cabinet within which everything is screwed up securely. The insulations are also placed properly. Earthing is also connected properly so that there is no leakage of current. Even if it is there, it should go in earth. Correct?
Correct.
And then furthermore, we can have a small lock also, which doesn't allow anyone to remove any components from inside. Correct?
Yes.
Which makes it physically secure as well and practically secure also.
Mhm.
So what is this? Now a computer system which is encapsulated. Correct?
Right. Right.
Few years back, we used to get laptops with removable components, like hard disk was easily removable, battery was easily removable, RAM was easily removable. There were panels. You open those
Mhm.
panels without opening the entire system, just open smaller panels and remove everything and replace. Correct?
Yes.
But because of that, the durability of the machine was not guaranteed. Probably the lifetime used to be finished by the end of fourth or fifth year. Yes,
Yes.
the kind of laptops we have today, do we have the same behavior now? No, everything comes concealed. Even the same is the case with mobile phones also. Battery comes concealed. There is no
Mhm.
external exposure. So battery going bad, I mean, the instances of that also have reduced, right? Plus, because it's not allowed to be opened at all, the chances of dust going in also are almost negligible, which damages the components. Plus, you touching, removing, putting, removing, putting, making the sockets loosen also is reduced. Yes. So your life of the device has increased because of that. And the need for repairs has gone down. Downtime has gone down. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Any repair that needs to be performed has to be done by qualified professional only. If we try to open it, we might end up breaking it. Correct? Because we may not have the proper tools. And even if we have tools, we may not have qualification to actually open it safely. Yes? So why
Yes.
this? This is also encapsulation only, right? The critical components they are protecting from the abuse. Unnecessary use is always abuse. Correct?
Yep.
And that's what is applicable for your data also. Earlier it was being abused when I was exposing the data members themselves as public. But by making them private, I block the direct access, which means I block the abuse. And then I am giving the public access in a controlled environment. So you want to use it, but you should be using it this way only. There is no other way. So the abuse will not be possible in this case. Proper usage only will be allowed. Is that clear?
Yep.
That's encapsulation. So it doesn't mean that encapsulation always requires properties. Usually for data members in .NET, we use properties, but for others, probably we might have methods also, right?
Yep.
Now, let's modify this person class further. Here I'm displaying the information on console, but I might need this string in different applications. I might need it to be displayed on a mobile phone app, or I might be displaying this information in a web app, either as pop-up, either as notification, alert or something. So I want to focus on returning the string. Got my point? I'm not concerned about how it will be displayed. Let the caller application decide that. And see, it's being repeatedly done. I'm repeatedly writing the same logic. Can't I put it here itself? I can encapsulate that logic also. Let's say here, after the second constructor, I have a public method that returns me a string named as get data. No parameters for it. What it returns me is an interpolated string. I just copied it from the program. And here, simple changes that I need to make. No object required. I just say ID because the method also is the member of the class. It has got the direct access to the other members. Name and date of birth the same way. Yes. So what is this? This is a member method or simply method. Why it is called as method, we have discussed in the previous session. Step-by-step process of doing something. So method. Yes.
Yes.
Now what changes I need in my program? After having this method added, let's go back over here. I no more require this console write line statement this way. I just have to replace it with console.writeLine p1.get data. And same way here, instead of this console write line statement, I need console.writeLine p2.get data. So redundant code has reduced. I cannot get rid of it completely, but it has reduced. Even if I have 50 or 500 members that needs to be displayed, it will still be this only. And the handling of those members will be taken care of by this statement, which is just once available there. Yes, or implemented only once there. Let's start and see the output. There will be no difference. Now, if it is console application would say console write line. If it is a mobile app, it will be a replacement of console.writeLine with something that mobile app supports. If it is web app, it will be something equivalent based on whatever the web app supports. Yes. Calling environment knows what it is, and accordingly it can use the statements, right? From here, I should never say put it on console, put it on alert, put it in message box or something. Your backend code should always be focusing on returning data. Let the caller decide how and where it will be displayed. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Bharat has put some message. At 12, you guys have some induction call. So is it like we need to finish by 12? Because the induction call, I guess, would be a little lengthy.
I think it would be only for few people.
Okay. So this is clear, right? Let's close person.cs file. Let's comment out all the code that we have here in main. Save. And then go back to Solution Explorer window, right click on project and say add another new folder by the name arithmetic. Something to do with mathematical calculations. Let's right click on arithmetic folder and say add class, which I'll name as Calci. Just like how we added person class in demographics, here in arithmetic, now I have Calci. Yes.
Yes.
Make this class public so that usable in all the contexts. This class is going to have only utility members. It's not going to work upon any specific data members of its own. All members will be independent of each other, just one relation that they would be doing similar kind of work. So I want all the members to be static. And for that, I define the class itself to be static. Class being static ensures that all the members within the class are also defined as static. Otherwise, it gives error. Got my point?
Yes.
Here comes my first member, public int add int a comma int b that returns a plus b. Logically everything correct, but add is complaining with some error. What it says, add cannot declare instance members in a static class. Member add does not access instance data and can be marked as static. Now class being static actually was complaining it, that the member has to be static as well. So I say public static int add. But add doesn't add only two integers. It might be that I need to add two double values also. Decimal values actually. Let's say here I have double as return type. Double as parameter A type and parameter B also is of type double, which also returns A plus B. I have two methods named as add. Logically, they are doing the same thing, adding the two numbers. So what this feature is called as? We have seen this before with constructor, right?
Yes.
Right.
There it was constructor overloading because we are doing it for constructor. Now this is going to be method overloading as we are doing it for method. Correct? Return
Correct.
type of the method doesn't matter in this case, whether it is different or same, it doesn't matter. Name has to be same and either the number of parameters or data type of parameters need to be same, need to be different. In this case, number of parameters are same, but data types are different, so fine. In other case, possibly number of parameters may be different. So that is also okay. That's how your runtime will differentiate. Is that clear?
Yes.
I can have another method like this that returns me a string, which actually is the result of concatenation of two strings. Let's say I have string as the return type. Both parameters are of type string. And better than using plus operator, I will rather go for returning the interpolated string, right? That makes it easy. So dollar followed by double quotes, curly brace A, curly brace B. If I want a space to be added in between, I can add that space here itself. Between curly brace A and curly brace B. Save. Let's go back to program. The Calci class also is in a different namespace. What does it mean is I need to import that namespace cs_demo dot arithmetic. And then here I say, now see the class is static. I cannot say calc c1 equals to new calc. It's not allowed. It says cannot create an instance of a static class. I directly need to use the class name dot member name notation in order to use those methods. I can directly say console dot write line calc dot. Directly it shows me method add. How many times it is appearing in the list? Only one. The star is basically the frequently used methods. Actually, you don't need to count this. You have to count the ones without star. So add is there only once. If I make a selection of add there with arrow keys, it shows me int calc.id int a comma int b plus 2 overloads, means total 3 overloads are there. I say dot add, open the parenthesis, And there you see it shows 1 of 3. Right? And depending on what kind of parameters you pass there, it automatically picks up the right version. This will go to the one which takes in 2 integers. Say console.writeLine calc.add 200.12345D, comma, D is for double, comma, 100 dot 09876 D for double. So this will go to the one with 2 double parameters being passed. You can see this shows int, whereas this add shows double. And then I say console.writeLine calc.add hello, comma, world. This goes for the third one, which takes in 2 strings and return the string. Is it clear? Let's start. And we get the output also. Yes. That was method overloading. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's comment out these 3 lines. Close the calc.cs file. And let's right click on demographics folder, add class. I'm adding it to demographics folder. I'll name this as employee. Add. So along with person, now demographics has got another class, employee. Yes. I make this class public. Now this belongs to the same namespace as person. No need of importing the namespace here. I can just say :person to get it inherited from person. Now with this itself, the effect is if I create the instance of employee class, employee emp1 equals new employee emp1 dot already has got ID, name, and date of birth. Do you see that? Get data method is also there.
Yes.
I didn't define anything. My employee class is empty. So how come I'm getting these 4 members? They are all inherited from the parent class, that is person. Understood?
Yes.
Here I might have properties. Suppose I'm looking for properties, but there is no plan of validation as yet. So I need not go for prop full. I can just type prop and press tab twice. Directly property is created and the backing field is automatically created. I say this is going to be employee ID. Next, I have the property that is designation. Next, I have the property in department number. Next, I have another property. Let's say double is the data type for it, and the name is salary. You can have other properties also. Now, don't you think I should have a constructor for getting these things also initialized? So here goes my first default constructor, which I say is chained with my base class default constructor to get the person members initialized. ID, name, and date of birth will be initialized by person class. Remaining properties like employee ID will be initialized here. Let's say 0 is the default value. Designation string.empty, department number 0, salary 0. Yes. And then there is another constructor that I need. So I type ctor that takes in int ID, string, name, date time, date of birth, int employee ID, string designation, int department number, put it on next line for better readability. Followed by double salary. I want ID, name, and date of birth to be initialized by the base class constructor. So here goes constructor chaining colon base, to which I pass ID, name, date of birth. Remaining things I get it initialized here. I copy this part, paste it here, replace 0 with employee ID, string.empty with designation, 0 with department number, and this 0 with salary. So couple of things we learned here. One is inheritance. The second thing is constructor chaining. We are chaining the constructor, right?
Yes.
Save. Go back to program.cs. I want the second constructor to be used directly. So let's say I pass 101, comma, name as James, comma, datetime.parse, -September-1965 as date of birth, comma, employee ID as 1243, comma, designation SSE senior software engineer, comma, department number, let's say 20, salary 1,50,000, some random values I'm placing. And then here I say console.write line, emp1 dot get data. Tell me what it will display. Complete details or just some portion?
Only the three parameters we have given collected.
Which one?
ID, name, date of birth.
And why do you think so? Because get data doesn't belong to employee. It belongs to person. And within that person class, it knows only ID, name, and date of birth, right? Right? Let's confirm. Here comes the out. Though I have complete data, it's not showing. So what should I do? This is where the need comes for method overriding. Because with additional data, you might require additional logic also at times. Sometimes you might need the logic to be completely replaced as well. It all depends on how you proceed, whether it is replacement or it's an additional logic, right? So for that, first of all, in the person class, I need to define my method get data as virtual. Virtual keyword makes the member as overridable. Means I'm giving the permission that, okay, someone can override this in the derived class. Is that clear? If not overridden, that's fine. It's not a compulsion. But if someone wants to override, can override. Is it clear?
Yes.
I have one doubt. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it private or a protected methods can we do virtual?
Private method being made virtual have no meaning because private members will be accessible only to the owner class. So if I define that method as private virtual,
Mhm.
it will be accessible to person class only. So making it virtual will not make any meaningful thing. And in fact, here compiler itself says virtual member cannot be private. Compilers also becoming smarter, right? So you need not
Yes.
remember this. By default, you have a guidance. Make sense?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Thank you.
But then it can be either public or protected internal or internal. Understood?
Yes.
Except private, it can be anything. Okay. Now I go to employee class. And here I say I want to override one of the base class member. So I type override, press space bar, it automatically shows the list of overridable methods from the parent. One of which you can see is get data. Make a selection using arrow key and press tab. It automatically puts the complete syntax in place. Public override string, get data. Return type has to be same. Parameters has to be same. Name has to be same. So entire message is same. That's what we discussed the other day, right? Behavior may be different. That's what polymorphism is. Correct? Base.getData then calls the base class version of getData. I will need this. So I just select, cut it. I'm looking for an interpolated string to be returned back. The first thing which I want to return is what the base class is giving me from getData. Comma, curly brace. In fact, before that, I can put employee ID, colon curly brace, employee ID, comma, designation, colon, curly brace, designation, comma, department number, colon, department number, comma, salary, colon, curly brace, salary. Let me put this on next line for better readability. Yes. This way I'm extending the base class functionality. If I don't have the call to base version of the method, directly new logic is there, new code is there, means I'm overwriting or I'm replacing. Got my point?
Yes.
Now I don't make any changes into here in the program.cs. I just start the program and see the difference. This time we get all the parameters displayed. Yes or no? Employee ID, designation, department number, salary with their values also being displayed. Correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
So that is what polymorphism with method overriding is. Here, is it clear to all?
Yes, yes.
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 One assignment for you guys. We discussed about another feature in .NET that is available by the name method hiding, which also represents polymorphism. So I want you guys to do some research on that and come up with similar example that explains method hiding before we actually begin with our next session. So you do it, you have couple of days, you do it, and when we start the session, some of you already join before time, so they can directly put it into the chat. If you have the access to the chat already, after the session gets over, you can put it there also once you are done, so that I can see and evaluate it. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, what is that? Come again.
We discussed about method overriding, right? Then there is another feature in
Yeah.
.NET called as method hiding, which represents polymorphism. So I want you to research on that and come up with an example which explains method hiding. The example should not be only the implementation, there has to be usage also. Got my point? Okay. So I believe we can end the session for today here itself, because here onwards we will be looking to start with the design patterns as we discussed in the previous session. So that will be the agenda for our next session on Monday. I hope you have studied something on it, at least some reading exercise you have done on it. If not, we have a long break in between, right? 3 days of break now we have officially, out of which 2 days is the actual break. So you can just get 1 hour or 1.5 hour spent on this research, and you can come up with some idea about the design patterns. Gang of 4 design patterns and solid principles I asked you to go through. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the session today as well. See you on Monday, 9:30 a.m. Till then, goodbye and happy weekend.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sakit. Hopefully we get the recordings for these 3 days.